Welcome everyone, you are listening to it, perhaps watching Hot Sauce Sports. I'm your host, Pease Delarice, and giving me the countdown this week, doing double duty, is my co-host, Terry Tam.
I figure it's the only way you're going to know when to start because you can't see Eagle. Nobody wants to see Eagle, and you're not going to look at the chat where Eagle's counting down, so I'll count it down for you.
You know what the worst part is? I heard one of your chat messengers went off. Like, I heard the ding sound, and it was me sending one of you a message.
It was me, and then, so that the problem is, I turned off the volume on my computer when stuff was happening, and then Terry started speaking and I couldn't hear him because I didn't have volume on my computer.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not in the chat during the show, Eagles, because I get a billion notifications, like the one that allowed us to break the Le'Veon Bell news last week. I get a lot of notifications during the show, so I try and keep my speakers off for that reason, and I keep the speakers on because I need to, but I keep the chat closed for that reason.
You need a second screen, man.
Yeah, I know. Listen, man, I'm hoping we can be back in studio soon. I'm not even going to be in my house on November 9th, so I'm getting work done again.
What work are you getting done in your house now?
Sanding all it's work being done on him. He's going for plastic surgery.
Exactly.
They got to transfer the fat from his tits into his ass.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I need basically.
I need more of an ass too.
Yeah, I don't think either one of us needs more of an ass, to be fair.
Well, I mean, I have like one of those, like it's fine, like width-wise, but it's just like it's very tiny this way, you know.
I see. You need gravity to start pulling its weight.
Exactly.
Yeah. So just get older. That's the only thing you have to do. You just got to get some sag going. So speaking of big asses, Stan Van Gundy, he's been rehired. He's back in the NBA. Looks like he's going to be coaching the Pelicans moving forward.
Does he have a big ass? I don't even know if he does.
He's a giant dude, so I'm assuming.
Stan Van Gundy's not a giant dude.
He's really Stan Van Gundy. You're thinking Nick Van Gundy. Stan is the big one.
Isn't it Mike Van Gundy?
I don't think so.
Stan Van Gundy's the one that used to coach the Knicks, the chunky one.
No, that's Nick. Stan Van Gundy used to coach the Heat.
And Van Gundy is 5'8", by the way.
Yeah.
Jeff Van Gundy is about the same.
They're brothers, obviously.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Both very good high school point guards. College point guards.
So who are you thinking of?
No, I'm thinking of. I don't know. I don't know which Van Gundy is which anymore.
You're thinking of Jeff Van Gundy.
He's the one that's on TV. Like he's an analyst, an analyst.
Exactly.
Stan Van Gundy is so he's also not very tall.
No, but he's saying big. Like Stan Van Gundy's chunky.
Yeah. He's a big.
I understand now.
He's the one that looks like Paul Bear.
So Stan Van Gundy is the one you're trying to model your ass after, Peas, right?
Exactly. I want Stan Van Gundy's ass.
I understand.
I'm pretty sure you'll be happy with him coaching again, Terry, just because he tweets 1,200 times a day, all of them political, all of them very left-leaning. I actually think Stan Van Gundy's a really, really smart dude who's wasting his talents in basketball. But hey, do what you love, and especially if they pay you millions of dollars for it.
Exactly. Do what you love and who you love. We've always said that.
Exactly. I like it, to be honest. I always thought he was a good coach, just in some weird situations. In Detroit, they made him GM and head coach. I generally don't think that works because the GM's job is to win for the future. The coach's job is to win now. Yeah. So if you're also the GM, your job just becomes to protect the head coach. And that's usually what we've seen. And that was the case, I think, with Stan Van Gundy. I think with a reduced role and a nice little set of players, including, of course, the All-Star to be Zion Williamson, I think they'll be fine.
I think they'll be fine. I think that he provides some sort of experience with that within such a young team. They're a young team and they're an up and coming team. I think obviously they have one of the better prospects in the league. Plus Lonzo Ball is playing. I mean, I think he's very underappreciated. I think the fact that he has a Ball last name means that you're automatically going to start hating him. I think that he's a very good player. He just kind of maybe lost his shine a bit in LA, and I think that him in New Orleans is a fresh start, and we saw some good things from him last year. So I think that team is really looking up. They still have Ingram, right?
They do, and they have Brandon Ingram as well. I was just going to say.
Yeah, so they still have Ingram too, and that's three young guys that you can build off of there. And I understand they have a few picks because of the Anthony Davis trade. So we'll see what they can do with that.
A lot of late round picks and second round picks, but you know what? With the amount that they have, you just need one to work out okay. You just need one guy from that group that'll turn out to be a decent ball player that you can use for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, the Lakers knew that they're gonna if with Anthony Davis and LeBron, they'll be somewhere at the top of the rankings. So for them, that pick doesn't really mean much for them. But for the Pelicans, can be a lot. It can be, a center that they might need, or maybe a small forward that they can push.
Some shooting,
some extra perimeter shooting. I like it. I like the Pelicans going forward, and I'm a fan of man. I'm sold. I'm sold on them. Except for Zion. I mean, Zion for like 4 years, I think I'm good. But then after that, I think Zion's kind of just gonna fall off. I mean,
it depends. It depends how the game how his game evolves, right? Like,
that's right. It depends how his body evolves too. He's got to lose weight.
He does.
Like, I'm saying this as a fat guy, like, buddy, like, don't represent me. You know what I mean?
Didn't
represent the Jack guys.
Didn't Shaq play for like 15 years and he was overweight for like 11 of them?
But the thing is about Shaq is that he doesn't even come close to playing the same kind of game as Zion. Zion spreads the court like really well.
And he's very explosive,
Is very explosive. Where Shaq is like the most dominant player at his position in all of sports, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to say who's the most dominant player at one position in all of sports, I think it has to be Shaq. Because
there's a good chance. Shaq not only was he indefensible by players, but referees said they couldn't ref the game when he was playing because they just didn't know what a foul was anymore.
But not only that is that, exactly, doesn't know what a foul was anymore. And not only that is that he pushed through every foul, so he's never getting fouled. And second of all is that he can't shoot from the free throw line. So for him, what he did in that, let's say, 10-foot radius under that basket, he was unstoppable. I think he's the best player at one position in the history of sports.
Absolutely.
Him, maybe Mariano Rivera as a closer. Like, those are the two guys where I can look back and say, if there's one position that somebody did something really well at, Shaq dominated center better than anybody, and Mariano Rivera dominated closing better than anybody.
That's true. I will say the difference being that you have to deal with Shaq for 40-plus minutes, and on a good night, you can avoid Mariano Rivera altogether.
Yeah,
but that's been a look into the past. Terry, let's look at what's happening today.
That's awful. It's too clean. It's too clean.
Mistake,
It's too neat for you. I know you're wearing a tie like this, but it's too neat. When are you gonna start just like dressing down like I do for these shows?
Terry, it's the news. What do you mean?
I thought it would throw you off.
I rolled up my sleeve.
Oh, nice.
I have a knit tie today, so it's very casual.
So you look like the replacement history teacher. You look like a substitute history teacher.
Did you knit
the
it
rolled
yourself?
up sleeves? Rolled up sleeves means that you might be in the process of writing a book.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to give off.
Yeah,
trying to go off smarter than I am.
Like, you have notes, but you haven't put them together yet.
And I never will. I never will put them together.
Yeah, exactly.
At most, I'll write a couple articles for Hot Sauce Sports. So, Terry, the NFL continues to push forward. And I don't know if this was because I'm a Dolphins fan, but I liked seeing Tua sitting on the 15-yard line where he started his career in Hard Rock Stadium, FaceTiming with his family that couldn't be at the game. I thought that was a really, really touching moment. And it was nice to see. He's a kid. It's something that most kids will do when they're starting their first job, right? They call their parents. It felt like a really sweet moment, and I'm happy for him. Tua Tagovailoa set to take on the position for the Miami Dolphins moving forward.
We had this, not you and I, but you and Alex, the intern, had this discussion in our chat. But I'm kind of I agree with both of you to certain extents. Where Alex was saying is like, listen, Fitzpatrick is winning games. You need him in there. Tua is going to be the guy for the future, whatever. I understand that. But what your point is that Tua is the guy for the future. There's no reason to keep him on the bench, especially if you drafted him in the top 3. There's no reason to keep him on the bench because you're going to need him out there. You're going to need to show that this guy was worth the pick. If you keep him on the bench, it's a waste of fucking time. And as good as Fitzpatrick is playing, I'll quote Will Power in his article about Tua this week, is that he's playing, but he's playing on a 3-3 team. It's not as if the team is 6-0. Yes, he had a few good games where, he showed Fitzmagic, but I just don't see the point in keeping Fitzmagic as a starter when you have a guy that you're basically saying you're going to be here for the next 10 to 12 years at least, and let's see what you can do today. I mean, you're not making the Super Bowl this year anyway, so you might as well just get it done with. Even if you finish 8-8, just fucking put the rookie in.
There's some interviews that happened today with Ryan Fitzpatrick. So some of the quotes that came out was I've been a starter. I've been benched all kinds of different ways, but this was kind of the first place other than Buffalo that I've been fully committed and invested. I felt it was my team. I basically got fired yesterday, and my day today consisted of Zoom meetings with the guy who fired me and sitting in a room with the guy who replaced me for 4 hours.
See, he's a good sport about it, though. Another thing is that people now are saying that he should be traded to the Cowboys or whatever. What kind of return are the Dolphins going to get for trading away Fitzpatrick? Nothing. You'll get a 6th or 7th round pick at best.
The thing is, Terry, so there's a couple of things. People tend to look at NFL rosters like Madden, right? So they're like, this guy has a higher rating until next season when the ratings get adjusted, and then the other guy will be better. So you play this guy, plus you're winning games. Look, even if the Dolphins were 6-0, do any of us believe they're a contender with Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback? Do you think they're a legitimate contender with Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback?
Contender to what? To win the division or to win the Super Bowl? Absolutely not. There's
no point in keeping the rookie on the bench where essentially, again, you're getting to have a look at him. You want to maximize the amount of information you have before 3 years from now when you need to make a decision whether you're going to extend him for a lot of money or not. And you have a limited amount of time where you have the advantage of having the ideally superstar quarterback on a rookie deal. So this is the Dolphins' opportunity to see what they have and build around this quarterback that's not going to cost them a lot of money for 3 years. So every game he's not playing is wasted opportunity. It's opportunity cost, which was my point in our chat with Alex the intern. But I think, look, there was no problems about it going into the season. Everyone knew what was going to happen. Everyone knew Fitzpatrick was going to start the season. If Tua was even healthy coming in, he probably would have taken the job immediately because that's what we've seen recently with top 10 picks. But given that he was coming in unhealthy, I think that we all knew there was going to be an expiration date. I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins said, you know what, no matter what, after the bye, if Tua is healthy, he's going in. And that's what we're seeing.
And you know what, honestly, the fact that there is a bye week coming up gives him additional time to prep for a single game, right? So if they're saying, if you don't understand the system well, if you need more time to learn it and everything, you're going to get a lot of reps over the next 2 weeks, and you'll figure it out. And if you're not ready for game time, well, that's on you, not on us.
Yeah, and the thing is that the Dolphins had a scheduled loss 2 weeks ago against the Seahawks where everyone knew they were going to lose that game. And they had a scheduled win this week. So I actually thought that he'd be in this week, but they gave Fitzpatrick an extra game where basically, Terry, you or I could have beaten the Jets.
Well, that's another thing, too, is like what's Tua going to learn playing against the Jets? I think it would have done him a lot better to play against the Jets because you can work on things against the Jets. Like, it's legit. You're playing against like a second team. You're playing against
the two picks that Fitzpatrick threw, they were just trying stuff. The game was over, right? So they're just trying. He's like, I'll try and fit it in this window. I'll try making this throw. My career in Miami's done anyway. Let me just rip the ball around the yard.
I feel bad for him a bit, because he's always comes in as the guy who's not supposed to do well and does well, and he does better than expected all the time. And there's a reason why he continues to have a job. And I just can't see him being like the franchise guy. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't work for me.
Well, but he never has been, and he's made a lot of money, and he's had a very long, successful career doing exactly this thing.
So Tua's been getting a bunch of reps right now with essentially the practice squad with Miami, right? Or like the twos, if you want to look at it that way. Do you think what would have given him a bigger challenge? Reps against the 2 squad of Miami, or reps against the 1 squad of the Jets?
Well, I mean, that depends. I don't remember how much talent Adam Gase ran off on the defensive side of the ball. So probably slight edge to the Jets, but in the slightest possible of edges.
All right, now we know.
Now it's confirmed.
Terry, I'm going to pose to you 2 situations of teams going for 2. One, enraged fans. One didn't seem to elicit a reaction, but I thought actually was kind of a good idea despite it not working out. One was Philadelphia. After a late score with a minute and a half left, they went for 2 while being down by 2. And people really questioned it because they thought, kick it, get the stop, and then try to get the field goal to win the game. But, I mean, there's no guarantee that you'll get that chance.
It's also
that doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's what I understand.
It's not like
I agree with you, Eagle. But there's a lot of backlash on Twitter by
Philly fans who don't understand how to score points?
Exactly. I would imagine that's the case. You've already allowed 30 points. Why do you think you're going to stop them now?
No, but not only that is that it's also math. If you're down by 2 and you miss, you're still down by 2,
And
then
the field
you
goal still wins
you
the
still
game.
need a field goal to win the game.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing. Exactly. The other situation was Houston. They were actually up by 6. They were up by 7. Romeo Crennel goes for it to try and put his team up 9, making it impossible to lose the game. Right?
Yes.
They don't get it. They allow a score, don't get the ball in overtime, and lose the game in overtime. Like it really didn't work out. But I actually kind of like Romeo Crennel saying, you know what? I'm old as fuck. No one's gonna hire me anyway. Let me lay it all out on the line right now. And that's what he did. It just sucks that it didn't work out.
So
I mean,
I'd be curious to figure out the actual
I love the
math and the
balls.
statistics behind it, right? Because I understand the guaranteed chance of winning the game on that one play, but are you really trying to gamble on that single play, or would you rather take your bets across a number of plays of which you have a chance to do something, I guess? Do you really want to gamble on one single event?
Well, one thing I was going to ask you, Eagle, is because we keep hearing the stats about going for it on 4th and going for 2. But do you think that over time, like our sample size is kind of tainted because for a long time teams didn't do this, but as teams are going to continue to go for it on 4th and go for 2 points, we're going to actually see an adjustment because teams will be better prepared to defend it going into games as opposed to what they were before?
Well, I also think there's a little bit you have to put into here of the requirement to go for it, right? Because traditionally, when you're going for it on 4th down, it's because it's 4th and inches, and you're like, okay, fine, we're going to get this, and you're just doing a quarterback sneak. Or it's because it's the end of the game, and you need to go for it on 4th down, right? Versus now, it's much more of an elective choice and a calculated risk of we're at midfield, we're not close enough to hit the field goal, but also if we lose the ball at midfield, I don't care as much, right? Like we'll either stop them or they'll score anyways, whether they start from the 50 or they're 25. So it's not worth it for me to try and punt this away. So it depends on how you're going to crunch the stats themselves and look at the scenario the team was in and use that as kind of a criteria when you're computing to see what the percentage chance is. As for whether defenses are going to adapt to it, I mean, they should already be. I'm saying,
well, the stats change as defenses adapt to it, right? Because a lot of the data we have is historical, where teams didn't particularly prepare for it because teams weren't as aggressive.
But I mean, so I guess that's the thing, though, right? If it's 3rd down or 4th down, arguably, what's the difference? You're aggressive on those, anyways, right? You don't want to give 3rd down.
You look at it the other way, Eagle. If you have
a lot of guys go for it on 3rd to set up your punt, or I mean, it's not necessarily going for it on 3rd. Doesn't mean you're trying to get a first down. I mean, obviously you want the first down, but there's a lot of different things that go into that scenario. But I understand where you're coming from, Eagle. If you're aggressive one side, you'll be aggressive on the other one.
Yeah. The one thing was with the Eagles play is they kind of ran like an option play where I think it was both Boston Scott and Carson Wentz held onto the ball, and they both kind of got tackled by a dude. And just like the thing is, what's interesting is the play call that works the best on 2-point conversions statistically at the moment is spreading the field and running a draw up the middle, right? Because you spread the defense and then you're attacking them with less guys in the box. The things that work the least are running wide, rolling out, and throwing fades, like goal line fades. So
the goal line fade is probably
it's the lowest percentage by far.
It's the lowest percentage play that we've ever seen in the history of NFL. But
like
guys still do it because it pays big.
Well, it pays big and it's low risk, and you can run that on 1st down. But on a convert, it just seems like a wasted opportunity.
Yeah, or you run a Philly special and just say fuck it.
Yeah, well, you think Philly would have figured that out then, but they did not.
It's because they don't have Nick Foles. They don't trust Carson Wentz to catch the ball.
They don't even trust him to hand off the ball.
Yeah.
After 1 week of seeing Andy Dalton at quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, did Dak Prescott's stock actually rise by not playing? Because how bad this incredibly talented team looked without their number one guy behind center.
I can't just blame Andy Dalton on this one because, listen, he looked great when he took over for Dak last week when he basically won the game with those 2 deep balls to Michael Gallup.
Yeah.
I'm going to blame the DBs on this one. I'm going to blame the defensive coaches on this one. I'm going to blame, partially Zeke for those 2 fumbles. I'm going to blame Michael Gallup for the 4th quarter. I think he just didn't know any of the plays. There's a lot of pieces here, and I think it falls down to coaching. When these guys, these issues that you see, they never happen when Andy Reid's coaching. They never happen when Belichick is coaching. They never happen when McVay is coaching. They don't happen when the good coaches, good leaders that game plan and prepare extremely well. These things don't happen. Where Michael Gallup is looking at Andy Dalton on 4 different occasions in the fourth quarter when they're trying to run a hurry-up offense, and he's doing this. Like, he doesn't know what the play is, and then he doesn't even run a route. And then he drops the touchdown in the end zone. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things out there. It's like, as a Cowboys fan, I can't say trade for Fitzpatrick. It's not worth it. There's no point to putting Fitzpatrick in there.
There's not a remarkable difference, I don't think, between Andy Dalton and Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I'd rather put Ben DiNucci in there. Fuck that shit.
There's a difference in terms of, the Miami Dolphins defense actually looks a lot better than people thought it was going to be heading into the season. And look, we're seeing a guy in Flores that actually might be a decent coach.
Yeah.
And whereas Mike McCarthy, players have already come out starting to say that there's guys on the staff that don't know what they're doing. He, on the other hand, said that this was the most prepared his team has been all season, which seems laughable if you've seen the game.
Well, was it you that sent me the stat the last time Mike Nolan and McCarthy were coaching together?
I don't think it was me.
Fuck, there's a stat that when Mike Nolan was the head coach and McCarthy was the offensive coordinator. I don't remember which. I think it was the Niners, I guess. Yeah.
It was in San Francisco.
But there's a stat line that's very similar to what's going on right now with them and how bad they are.
Here's the thing. Did anyone think that what happened in Green Bay was Aaron Rodgers' fault?
No. If anything,
I didn't.
Salvage that roster.
Yeah, season after season after season. And even though a lot of the roster issues aren't fixed, the team at least seems to be heading in the right direction together, whereas when Mike McCarthy was there, it was just a garbage fire.
I mean, listen,
it got worse every year, regardless of the roster.
I just don't see. I mean, I wasn't too excited with Mike McCarthy, but I was like, okay, he's not the worst possible option. But now I think he's the worst possible option. I think he looks absolutely lost out there, and it's almost as if he doesn't know what the other team is doing, especially on defense. Mike Nolan does not know what the other team is doing. They allowed 9 yards a carry against the Browns. This week, they made fucking Kenyon Drake look like a genius. They had no way to stop Budda Baker. He was basically a one-man wrecking crew. They didn't even have Chandler Jones. The offensive line was banged up. They didn't have anybody that was on the line after Zach Martin went down with a concussion. They had nobody on the line that had more than 3 years experience in the NFL. So there's that to play with also. I can't just blame Andy Dalton with that because the offensive line was basically a college offensive line.
No, and I remember when they were on the 1 yard line, Dallas ran like a contained blitz and Kenyon Drake walked in to the end zone.
Yeah.
And we were all very confused. Like, well, why wouldn't you at least stack the box and then just go man coverage on the outside? And that way, like let them earn the touchdown. Don't let them just take the easy, 1 yard run.
There were so many situations in that game where I was like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make any sense. It's not the same Cowboys that I watched last year.
Yeah, I agree.
And the Cowboys weren't even good last year.
No.
But I'm looking at this Cowboys team this year, and I'm like, this is the worst Cowboys team I've seen ever.
But can we just make an argument that 2020 hasn't been a great year for the U.S. and so America's team should also reflect that?
Since Quincy Carter, since Quincy Carter was the starting quarterback, and Dave Campo was the head coach, I haven't seen a worse Dallas Cowboys team in the history since I started watching football like in '94.
Well, and it's rough because the offensive talent is there. We know it's there. We know that the offensive line is banged up, but still, the offensive talent and skill positions is probably better than anyone else has in the league. And it appears very clear to me. I don't think we had any proof to tell us that this was the case, but I think Mike McCarthy has gotten bailed out in his career because of quarterback play.
Oh,
is that a possibility? Because now that he lost the star quarterback, this is what his team looks like.
Well, he doesn't make any fucking adjustments.
No.
So Aaron Rodgers had to make all those adjustments on his own because he's capable of doing it. But he can't make any adjustments. You think Andy Dalton's making adjustments? Andy Dalton's looking for a 4-yard pass to throw to.
Yeah, he's just trying to get the ball out of his hand to not get murdered by Budda Baker.
Which he does very well.
The Pats looked rusty after their COVID situation forced them out of their facility. They go take on the Broncos in probably the worst game of the weekend. Surprising result to you, Terry?
Yes, very surprising. I mean, the fact that they won with 6 field goals is beyond me. You know what I mean? And Cam Newton. I mean, I'm not gonna jump off the Cam Newton bandwagon yet. I'm still on the Cam Newton bandwagon. I think that he's more than capable. Everybody's gonna have a sketchy game here and there, but it was against the Broncos, and that's the part that makes me a little cringy. Is that I don't. There's something that's not the same in New England, and I wonder what it is.
Yeah. Well, look,
I wonder if it didn't go south.
South, and maybe slightly east. I feel like Florida kind of sticks out. It's kind of like a dick at the end of the country.
But not Tampa Bay, though. Tampa Bay is more inland.
That's true. That's also a good point.
But it's crazy, though, the swap from Titletown, Boston to Tampa Bay now.
Yeah.
So the Bruins, fucked. They lost Torrey Krug. They couldn't pay him. They said, fuck him. He's not going to pay. They're kind of on a down. They're on a slope going down. Then you have the Tampa Bay Lightning winning the Stanley Cup because of that, right?
Yeah.
Then you have the Bucks doing well, 4-2. Then you have the Tampa Bay Rays in the fucking finals when this year people were talking about them being moved back to Montreal. Well, not back to Montreal, but Montreal having another team and Tampa Bay being that team. So, I mean, Titletown Boston, we saw Mookie Betts. The Red Sox didn't want to sign him. He's playing in the World Series now for the Dodgers. I mean, Boston's not the title town anymore. Boston's not championship city anymore. It's Tampa Bay. It's the place to be. And no tax, no state tax.
They don't even have their marathon this year. I mean, what's going on, guys?
Yeah, what are we gonna do? I mean, that's for different reasons, but still.
Yeah. Honestly, it does seem to be things are all looking up in Tampa Bay. The downside of that, of course, is you have to live in Tampa Bay. But I think, like to your point, Cam Newton's going to figure it out. They've already changed their system significantly to accommodate his style of play, which is the right thing to do. And I just think that these kind of things, this is a season where things are going to be odd. You saw Cam Newton being forced to miss a game and Hoyer start a game because there was one player that had COVID, and then a whole team had an outbreak, and they got rewarded by not having to play backups. And it seems as though they've even gotten better and better since their COVID situation happened. Whereas the Patriots just seem kind of in disarray because they were unable to get into their facility.
I don't know, man. The way I see it is that this season is such a fucking toss-up that whatever, like, it's something crazier is going to happen this season. I think it's going to be something like Andy Dalton wins the MVP or something like that, or like Ryan Tannehill wins the MVP. Well, actually, Ryan Tannehill's probably my early favorite to be MVP. So I'm not surprised that what's going on right now, especially in New England, them. I mean, with New England, they always get their butts licked a bit. So they took advantage of the fact that they didn't have to play any backups and they moved their game or whatever it is. So crazier things are going to happen, I think, this year, and that's not the start. That's not one of them. I mean, that's one of them. That's only the beginning. And
yeah, I think so.
I'm just waiting for shit to happen. I'm waiting for something to happen. I'm waiting for somebody to die or get their leg ripped off or something. I don't know. Something fucked up is going to happen this year.
The thing that's making me happiest about the Titans is it's validating the Miami Dolphins because, like, maybe Ryan Tannehill got instantly better 8 years into his career, or maybe the coaching was just absolutely garbage. A guy who looked like you couldn't throw past 3 yards at a time looks completely dynamic, and the Gase offense looks the same as it looked when they had Ryan Tannehill. So maybe Ryan Tannehill wasn't the issue. Terry, the Dodgers are up 1-0 after coming back from being down 3-0 in the National League Championship Series. The Dodgers kind of feel like this is the year they got to win, right? Like after having come back in that series and now taking the lead, it kind of feels like, yeah, things are looking up. Kershaw took the bump. He looked good. Everything you want if you're a Dodgers fan is working out the way you want it in your head.
I think this is perfect timing for the Dodgers. I mean, I think they're kind of like the hockey quote, firing at all cylinders. I think they're hot at the right time. Kershaw winning Game 1 is huge because there's less pressure on Kershaw when he's in Game 1. If he's going to be in an elimination game later on, I think that's where he's going to falter. Right now, he's at a .500 record. He's 12-12 in the postseason. I mean, I'm a huge Kershaw guy. It just doesn't make sense how he can't translate it to the playoffs. But I like the way he played last night. Actually, I always watch the World Series. It was the first game of the Dodgers I watched in the playoffs this year. And they're stacked, man, head to toe. I mean, I think that they're gonna walk right through Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, coming off, they almost blew their 3-0 lead to the fucking Houston Asterisks. You know what I mean? So it's and they won their last game by a little tight. So it's, to me, it's like Tampa Bay's kind of like on edge, where Dodgers are like, fuck it, they're full momentum, and I think they're gonna run away with this. And I'm not a huge Dodgers guy, obviously, as a Mets fan, but realistically, do I want to see them win? One reason is because I want to see Kershaw win. I want everybody to shut the fuck up. The guy's a great pitcher. And two, I want to see Mookie Betts win just to stick it to the Red Sox. You know what I mean? So, they don't want to pay him. They're like, whatever, fuck you.
That's the thing, is like, I'm kind of torn too, because there's a couple things. One is, if the Rays win, it probably delays when the Expos return to Montreal, so that bothers me. I'm with you on Kershaw. Like, the amount of hate he gets is unreasonable. The guy is an absolute Hall of Famer. He hasn't gotten wins in the playoffs, but that said, we also know that people were cheating against him last time around, so it's kind of cool. It kind of feels like a redemption story, but it happens so infrequently for someone to be that talented to get a redemption story, so it's kind of fun to watch. I've always loved the way he pitches. I love his attitude. He's a guy who doesn't waste time. He throws strikes. He's what you want if you want to watch baseball. But it comes down to this: is the Dodgers have a lot of money. They went out, they spent the money. They brought in Mookie Betts, to your point. But the Rays have been just a well-run organization for so long. They have great pitching. They've created a team where they can move pieces up and down the lineup, where night after night, your lineups don't even look the same.
How old is that kid, Glasnow?
Glasnow, he's still on his rookie deal, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he's a little teeny. He's got acne.
But he's got acne and a flamethrower.
Oh my god!
He's 97, 98 last night.
Yeah,
Jesus.
He's got the most luscious hair. Also, I love that guy.
And
I like his style too. He's a little cocky. I like it.
That's probably why he's got the acne, though. It's the hair, the greasy hair.
Yeah, it's like in the hair and the face. I get it. I've been there. I know.
So can we reflect on the Braves from the 90s until today? And maybe this is my Expos bias, but like, maybe you don't deserve a franchise at this point. Like, for all the talent you've had, you had three of the best pitchers ever to play on the same staff all at once. You had this great hitting team where everyone in the entire lineup can mash.
Who was the third?
And once again, your season ends in abject failure.
Who was the third pitcher? We had Schilling, Maddox, and?
No, it was when it was Maddox, Smoltz, and Glavine.
Oh, Smoltz and Glavine. Okay, and then
I'm a bit older than you, Terry.
yeah, I guess. It's tough, man. It's tough for Brent Botkin too, the Botkinator. He's a contributor to Hot Sauce. He's a Braves fan, so I mean, it's tough for him because one, he's a Niners fan. Two, he's a Braves fan. Three, he's I want to say Red Wings fan.
So he basically started watching sports in the 90s and just liked all the best teams.
All the best teams. And so I'm like, you know what? You deserve to lose.
Yeah.
You know, and the Braves, fuck the Braves. Fuck Chipper Jones. I think we went on a Chipper Jones rant a couple weeks ago. And Chipper, like, fuck him. I don't care about this guy. Like, I don't care about the Braves. As a Mets fan, as an Expos fan, I can't get behind it. I'm happy they lost. I'm happy they blew the lead. It just it adds to the Atlanta sports bullshit. You know what I mean? Can't win anything. Can't do it.
Like, in recent years, Atlanta's kind of become a second home to me. I go there often, and we have a lot of friends and family there. And I saw them all upset on my social media feed, and I was secretly celebrating. I was very happy in the misery.
The Braves are the team of the South too. Like, if you're from
North Florida,
Georgia, maybe like South Florida, Tennessee, like that area, you're an Atlanta Braves fan. So they have like a big region in the States, and there's a lot of upset people right now. There's a lot of upset people. That's for sure.
They probably deserve it. There's been some talk about Trevor Lawrence and his potential destination. It looks as though he's New York bound no matter what. Roddy White said that if there's talk of him going to the Jets, he should stay in college, which that's funny for someone with a lot of money to say for someone who's not getting paid. Yeah. Turn down the money. And then Deion Sanders said he should do the Eli Manning thing. Just go to the draft and then just say, I'm not playing for the Jets. Yeah. And as a Dolphins fan, that would make me exceptionally happy. I hope that's the way it works out, where you get like You ask a girl out to the prom and she starts laughing at you. That's what I want. I want Trevor Lawrence to be the hot chick at the dance who won't go with you.
I actually wanted to check something just to let everyone know how this works. So underclassmen have until 7 days following the NCAA National Championship game to declare their intent, and that happens to be January 13th. So January 20th, he needs to decide whether or not he wants to be eligible for the draft or continue playing at that point. So by then, if my math is correct, we're going to know more or less who's getting first draft pick, right?
Of course. We will know because even though the playoffs aren't done,
isn't it a lottery?
The highest picks, it doesn't matter.
Isn't it a lottery?
There's no lottery, no. Not for the NFL.
Not in the NFL, no?
No, just reverse order of standings.
Oh, okay, that's good. So we do know.
Wait like all the way until the last minute until like he basically knows where he's going, and then be like, nah, right?
Yeah. So we've seen it before.
If you're Trevor Lawrence, though, do you give up the opportunity to play in New York? Do you give up the opportunity to maybe build your legacy with a fucking struggling team? Are you the type of guy if you're Trevor Lawrence to say, listen, I'll come. I won't be an asshole and I won't ask for a trade if you kind of get rid of Gase. Like, I think I think his agents might be on that. Be like, listen, we're only coming here. We'll declare, but only if you get rid of Gase. Like, that's pretty much.
I mean, I don't think Gase will. Like,
I don't think he's gonna last season either. Yeah, but who do you bring in? I mean, there's a lot of young coaches out there. I think Vance Joseph is a good defensive mind you can put in there.
Someone hire Eric Bieniemy, please. Somebody hire. He's the offensive coordinator in Kansas City.
Oh, okay, yes, exactly.
He keeps not getting offered jobs. I don't understand.
The other question, obviously, is if he does wait a whole year, who knows if, one, he's going to be healthy, two, if someone is going to surpass him, and maybe he's not going to go number one anymore.
Well, I mean, there's Trey Vance. A lot of people talk about Trey Vance.
I don't think anyone should ever not go to the draft because you're never going to replace that income. Exactly. So even, let's say let's choose a random number. Let's say it's $5 million for your first year. Even if you're going to get that money in the next year, you still have a year where you didn't make $5 million. I don't know about you, Terry. I like $5 million.
I mean, I don't hate it. You know?
You don't hate it. Okay.
No, I don't hate it.
Terry doesn't hate $5 million.
I don't hate $5 million. I mean, if you want to give me $5 million, I'll take it.
All right. I'll transfer it right over. No problem. Right on Trevor Lawrence's account.
But you're right, though. I mean, I think Trevor Lawrence. I mean, unless he wants to graduate, that's a different story. I don't know what his education status is at.
You're rich. You can pay for school. That's no problem.
Oh, I agree. But some guys, family values, finish school. It's more important. All that shit. Whatever. Football's always going to be there, but it might not be if you get destroyed and you dislocate your hip like Tua did. So there's a lot of factors in there. I think that he's better off just declaring for the draft and going back to school later, or taking classes, or just paying for the degree like normal athletes do.
Like normal rich people do. Absolutely. I agree with you, Terry. And also, won't you just get an honorary degree because he was awesome at his time at Clemson? Like, even if he doesn't finish, you'd be like, you know what? Here's your degree. It's all good.
What did you want to major in? Law? Here.
No problem.
Medicine? You're a doctor.
No problem. Terry, we have a guest today. Dave Brown joins us. What's he been up to recently?
Still working for AMI. That's the channel that has that's about for disabilities, and they focus on that. They're very I think they're publicly funded. He has Dave Brown Radio. He hosts it once a week, and Dave Brown's a good guy and he's very knowledgeable. And the reason why I asked him to come on is because he actually had a Twitter beef with Alex the intern, so I wanted to bring him on and talk about that a bit, so we can. It
seems as though a lot of people have beefs of social media variety with Alex the intern.
Well, all it does is just keeps us at the top of people's feed. So
it's great. It's great. I love it because it gets attention, and for once, someone else gets yelled at who isn't me.
But it also bothers me that he hasn't changed his Twitter handle to Alex the intern, and it's still Vintage Habs. I think he's got to change that name. That's an awful fucking Twitter handle.
It's terrible. So let's get to our interview. We'll get to Dave Brown next.
This show is brought to you by Mike's BBQ Rub, home of the best rubs in town, and La Sauce barbecue sauce. Peace.
Just like Rubbercraft, I can't resist a good rub down, and Mike's barbecue sauce is the best rub down in town.
So visit Mike's BBQ Rub, MTL.com, and use Hot Sauce 10 promo code for 10% off on all individual bottles. That's Hot Sauce 10 for 10% off. And don't forget to rub your meat peas.
And we're back. We're joined by Dave Brown. Dave, how's it going, bud?
Hey, really great, guys. So happy to be back with you guys. Really happy to see all the success you guys are having and great work keeping this going during the pandemic. But guys, if I'm being honest, I'm almost like a little bit bummed out. Like since the beginning of August, it's been like a sports cornucopia, and now hockey's done, basketball's done, and baseball's wrapping up this week. Like I'm gonna be bored at a certain point.
Yeah,
So
like right
what
now
I
I'm rewatching the highlights to the Dodgers, the game 1 of the World Series. That's what I'm doing right now.
The
There's
way
nothing
I
else to watch.
feel right now is sort of like, the hangover on the last day of a bachelor party where it's still the bachelor party, but it's ending and you got to go to work tomorrow and you're going to feel like shit. That's what I feel like with sports right now.
Yeah, that's how I was feeling. Basically, even after the first weekend of hockey, like basically 8, 9, 10 hours a day, eating like nothing but fried chicken and like just drinking beer. And all of a sudden, like you're back to work on Tuesday, and it was like, oh man, what was that? And then it just kept going and going and going, and it was amazing. But again, like I said, like even last Saturday, you had like that great UFC that started a little bit earlier with the Korean Zombie and Brian Ortega, and that went into like the Lomachenko fight. Like it was just one of these like great sports nights. And now as we're starting to lose more and more of these sports along the way, like there's going to be not a down period because of course we're going to have football to keep us busy and the Champions League is back in the mix, but I don't know, it's going to be a little bit tough. Like what am I going to do in the afternoons?
Well, that's the thing too. In Champions League, they play at 3:00, right? So if you're like a 9 to 5, you're not really able to watch unless you watch it later on. But like, yeah, the whole vibe of like the whole sports. Usually in October, we're jam packed with sports. You get the NHL, NBA is all firing, the NFL is good. The World Series, obviously that timeline didn't change. So there's a lot of things. I get it. But it's tough, man. But at least we're getting something. You know what I mean? And golf has for me has been great this year. I mean, I've watched a ton of golf. I played over 40 rounds this year. I've been on fucking fire.
Oh,
so
wow.
like for me, yeah, golf has been great for me, and it's a great way to like fill that void of like sports and competition that you're looking for.
Absolutely. Yeah, I didn't get it on at all this summer. It was too bad. I'm kind of like locked here in the midst of the concrete jungle of Toronto. But yeah, no, I mean, what a great way to like get active, get outside, and like still see some people. Like it's kind of been like the perfect pandemic sport.
Well, I mean, active. I mean, you're right. It's not, I'll walk. I walk for the most part, but like when I'm taking my cart, especially when I'm playing with peas, it's just beers. You know what I mean? So like, we're not really burning any calories.
No,
That's why you got to go with
we're
the light
taking
beers.
more calories
Miller
than we're
Lite's
burning.
going.
We're taking in a lot more calories.
So Dave, you come to us via AMI, which is Accessible Media. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I know I've been on the show a couple times before, and the last time I was on, we were just in the middle of launching a brand new show called Now with Dave Brown, which airs weekdays in the mornings between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern time, live on AMI TV, as well as on AMI Audio, available by podcast as well. And it's really what I've been working towards for like 11, 12 years since I like got into the industry when I first met Terry. I've always wanted to have my own talk show, and finally, after a lot of hard work and a lot of like diverse experience over the years, AMI gave me this opportunity. We've been running with it. We're having a ton of success. The show is simultaneously super fun and very serious. Like we can talk about politics in one segment and talk about chili dogs in the next. So it's kind of the exact kind of show that I've been wanting to do for all these years. So I'm super, super thrilled. And I encourage anybody, if they want to come check it out, please do. It's a little bit different. We talk about stuff through a bit of a disability lens, but we're covering all the bases across the board, and we have a lot of fun doing it.
I don't know if I came on with Now with Dave Brown, but I did come on Dave Brown Radio. I think it was like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And I had a good time, man. It was awesome. I would love to come back. I know we had scheduled for me to come on at one point, and then I tried to get peas, but we were both kind of busy. So hopefully that we can come on and show support to AMI as well.
It felt a weird time where quarantine for me was over, and I had to be in my office, and therefore couldn't be on the show.
Yeah.
But definitely, we'll work it out for sure, because it's a great platform. We're happy to be doing it, and we're happy, of course, to have you as a friend of our show, Dave, because your opinions, your thoughts, they're better constructed and better thought out than mine and Terry's combined. So you give us a lot of credibility. And the first of your thoughts that I want to get is you wanted to talk to us about the Dodgers. And Terry and I already talked about this a little bit. We're of the belief that, look, the way I see it is Clayton Kershaw was going to be a Hall of Famer anyway. Of course, the postseason struggles is part of the story. But, when you look at someone's career in totality, you don't just want to look at the greatness. You want to look at every part of it. He did struggle. He looks like he's on track now to win a World Series, and to, after the game he had last night, sort of put some of those worries to rest.
Yeah, I think this postseason in general has been emblematic of Clayton Kershaw's overall postseason record, right? He's pitched a couple of dazzling games, including one against the Milwaukee Brewers and a pretty effective game against the San Diego Padres in the next series. And then he struggled against the Atlanta Braves. Last night he pitches another dazzler. And there's been a little bit of inconsistency in Clayton Kershaw's career in the playoffs. Of any pitcher with over 100 innings pitched in the playoffs, he does have the highest ERA. But that tells you two things at once. One, it says, well, he's had some struggles here, but also he's someone who the manager knows has the talent to be given the ball so many opportunities despite some of those struggles. So that's one of those great things that kind of encourages Clayton Kershaw. The other thing that I think should be remembered here, although his game's a little bit in decline at 32 years old, he still is just 32. So the Dodgers have gone to the World Series 3 of the last 4 years. That in and of itself is an accomplishment, getting to the big series as often as he has. And the other side of it too is if he picks up a ring this year and knowing the caliber of this Dodgers team with so many young players in their mix, they could go to the World Series 3 out of the next 4 years as well. There's a possibility that he might add 2, 3, 4 rings at the back end of his career when he becomes maybe the number 2, or well, he already is the number 2 pitcher in that rotation, but when he becomes maybe the number 3 or the number 4, the grizzled veteran. I think there's still a possibility for Clayton Kershaw to even further cement his legacy.
I think you're right, Dave, and we spoke about it a bit before, and I mentioned that Kershaw game 1 is what you want him at. You want him in game 1, less pressure. You don't want him in the elimination games. Not necessarily. He's a great pitcher. I mean, I think if he wins the World Series this year, having won the World Series, I think it's going to shut a lot of people up. If he doesn't lose a game, if he wins 2 games out of, let's say they go to like a 6-game series or whatever the case may be. But I do like Kershaw, and I think that he does get a lot of heat. The baseball playoffs it's probably one of the toughest tournaments to play in. So I mean, the fact that he's at a 500 record, I mean, yeah, it's not going to play well in his Hall of Fame votes, that's for sure. But at the end of the day, the guy is a fucking stud. I mean, we can't deny that. And for the Dodgers to be, like you said, the World Series the last 3 to 4 years, I'm as a Mets fan, as a pseudo Mets fan, by way of Montreal. I think that I can't stand the Dodgers. I actually know I can't stand the Dodgers. But I would like to see them win so we can basically shut up all the Kershaw haters and stuff like that. As long as, what was that douchebag? Chase Utley. As long as he doesn't have a fucking ring, that's all I know.
Yeah, it's more about the people we root against than the people we root for sometimes in sports.
I can't get over that Chase Utley when he injured Tejada at second, when he broke his line, went straight to Miguel Tejada and broke his leg, and that basically changed the series for the Mets versus the Dodgers. Dodgers went on to go to the World Series and lose to the Royals, but like it just doesn't. I mean, I can't get over that. I watch it. I'm thinking about it today. I'm like, it doesn't make sense how he was still able to stay on base. But whatever. That's I digress. Maybe I'll write a blog about it.
Is that a grudge from like 5-6 years ago?
Yeah.
Like, are we going back to the 2015 World Series? Wow.
2015. Yeah. It's
deep cut.
No, it's still. It hurts right here, man. Right here. It's like it stings. Every once in a while, I wake up middle of the night. I'm like, Chase Utley.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Sometimes we think about the gamesmanship in postseason play for teams, and we think about the physicality you might see sometimes in hockey or football. But in a sport like baseball, it's more about the cerebral side. People will never forget what Derek Jeter did against the Oakland A's. Whereas when you try to add a physical component to baseball, it just doesn't jive.
It throws me off, and I played football my entire life. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 12 years, and I boxed for about 6 years. So it's like for me, it's like the contact to me is great. I love it, but not in baseball. Baseball, I'm more of a purist. I don't want any. I only want umpires. I don't want any technology. Pease is gonna hate me for this because he thinks technology should just take over all officiating.
Yeah, I don't want any officials at all, actually, because technology can't make the game all about themselves like umpires can.
Yeah, technology doesn't have grudges, not yet. Anyway, they might later on, but
I don't know.
We're so screwed.
I don't know. Some Sundays when I watch the NFL and I'm flipping between games and it feels like the officials are calling a bunch of different sports between games, I do think that we could maybe use a little technology here for a little bit of consistency.
the NFL, we see a lot of technology in baseball too. It's kind of kicked in soccer too. Hockey, there's a lot less room for error because a lot of things are a lot more clear in hockey, I guess. But you need an umpire for sure. but you don't. It's not a necessity anymore. And I think because we have the technology to
Where
beat
you
this
started by
defense,
saying you need it for sure, and then said in the next sentence that it wasn't a necessity.
I'm still thinking about 2015, man. My brain's all over the place.
That's fair.
I brought up bad memories for me. I remember sitting on my couch watching that game and being like this. I can't believe this guy's still in the fucking game. It doesn't make any sense.
Hey, I got a question for you guys actually, and it's a leading question. Sorry, I'm a host of a show, so sometimes I take over like this.
No worries.
If you want, lazy.
Do it.
What do you guys make of this Dodgers team? Like beyond Clayton Kershaw, if you look at the president of the team, Andrew Friedman, who's the guy who's the architect behind the infrastructure behind this Tampa Bay team. A lot of criticism coming towards the Los Angeles Dodgers as one of these quote money teams. Do you guys think that's a fair criticism?
Of course it is. I mean, it's a fair criticism, but it's also the sport of baseball, so we can't really hate on it that much. I mean, the fact that they were able to pay Mookie Betts, that's on Boston Red Sox. The Boston Red Sox, I was talking about it before. I think Tampa Bay has become title town, whereas opposed to Boston was before, you know? So Boston lost Mookie Betts. Now Dodgers have Mookie Betts. The guy's a fucking stud. He's an MVP. You know, he's unbelievable. Guys like Cody Bellinger, Turner, they have the money purchases, I guess, but they also have a lot of guys that been in that system for a long time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I look at a guy like Cody Bellinger, and I think that guy does nothing wrong. You know what I mean?
They
Like,
also don't have David Price playing this season as well, right? Because he's sitting out. So that also changes the whole team, and how they're successful this year is kind of ridiculous without him. But anyway.
But the thing is, the perception is that it's easy to manage a team with a lot of money. The fact that the Red Sox were unable to sign Mookie Betts because they had so many bad contracts on their books shows how it is that the Dodgers have been able to be so successful for such a long time, because these quote-unquote money teams, they have a run for about 5 years, then they got to tear it down, the owner wants a bit of money back, and then bit by bit they start spending again, and that's not been the case. The Dodgers have been very consistent. They've handled their finances well. Now, the fact that the Rays got there with having, I think they've only had 3 players whose salaries are more than $5 million.
Yeah.
Wow. That's impressive. That's you got to look at that and say, well, look, there's something that they're doing right.
Yeah.
But it's just 2 ways of managing a team. This exists in baseball because of the lack of salary cap. That's always been the case. Terry, you and I know the Montreal Expos owners were the richest owners in Major League Baseball. They just didn't want to invest in the team.
I mean, we could talk about that. That's a whole other episode.
Yeah, it's a whole other thing. Yeah.
We always bring up that Dave Sampson.
Because David Sampson's a goddamn asshole.
Dave, have you heard? Did you hear Ariel Helwani go toe to toe with Dave Sampson on the
Levitard show? Yeah. So I'll be honest here. I love the Dan Levitard show. I love the Levitard and Friends podcast network. It drives me crazy that they give David Sampson a basically weekly platform.
It's crazy, man.
To be a scumbag on the air. And I loved that segment they had where Ariel went right at David Sampson.
You needed a guy like Ariel who has all the fucking facts, who lived it.
Who understands the context of Quebec as well.
Of course,
you know what I mean? He was talking about, because one of the things David Sampson kept complaining about was the fact that, like, you know, he got made fun of because of his French. Well, like, that's part of the deal here in Quebec. You know, like, if you don't like it, hire somebody who speaks French.
Yeah. No, but his French was fine. He was able to speak French.
Yeah, he does.
He's able to speak French like a normal Jewish guy that lives in Montreal. I mean, he spoke French exactly like they do. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. There's nothing. Like, he spoke the language. There's no problem with that. Bob Gainey. I mean, he spoke, like, he had an English accent speaking French, but he knew every freaking word. So, like, for him, it doesn't matter that he wasn't he's not from France. People made fun of him, yeah, but you're able to still do it. People also made fun of you because you spent so much money on the worst players ever.
Graham Lloyd.
Oh my gosh!
Sorry,
Hideki
Irabu.
Yeah,
Hideki Irabu, Bartolo Colon.
You know, it's one of these things, though, that our experience as Montrealers will tint the way we look at the baseball landscape, right? It's impossible not to look at it. But one of the reasons why I asked that question about the Dodgers is because, yes, it is true they were able to go out and bring in a Mookie Betts, and previously they've been able to go out and sign moderate to high price starting pitching in the offseason. But when you look at the core of this team, you mentioned Bellinger, we've got Corey Seager, we've got Jock Peterson. There's one more that's escaping my brain right now. But we're looking at players who are the most significant players on those team, maybe other than Mookie Betts, even people like Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw. These are draft and development prospects by the LA Dodgers. This isn't the LA Angels trying to sign Albert Pujols to a lot of money to complement Mike Trout, or the Philadelphia Phillies bringing in the Bryce Harpers and the JT Realmutos, not really doing their work to build a foundation for a team. When you look at the work the Dodgers do, they do that work. They draft well, they develop their players well, and the big difference for them is when it comes time to pay your own guys, if the guy is worth it for them, they have the cash to go do it. So it's almost like a jealousy, but I don't levy the criticism at them the same way I might levy it towards the New York Yankees or the Philadelphia Phillies or the LA Angels.
Yeah, it's a little different. I've kind of softened up on the Yankees a bit. I used to say that the Yankees are what's wrong with baseball, where they used to just buy everybody, and I've kind of softened up on them a bit because they have developed a lot of the guys that they have on the roster right now. Obviously, they signed Stanton, but whatever. You know, you're going to sign players. You have to go get. You have the money, go get the best. But I like the way the Yankees built their roster, and I've softened up on my hate towards them. I think I've directed all my hate towards Chase Utley, and I'm just going to keep it at that. Like that's just that person.
Yeah, totally fair. So in this series, do you guys feel yourself rooting for the Dodgers, or do you feel a bit of a pull towards the Rays?
Oh no, I'm pulling towards the Dodgers. I wouldn't mind seeing the Rays win. I mean, I think it's a good story because of the stats that Pease mentioned about their salary and who they have. Kevin Kiermaier is a great player. I mean, I think he's one of the best in the league. But I'm kind of leaning towards the Dodgers because of that whole Kershaw, Mookie Betts, like go fuck yourself, Boston. Like I want that.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited. I kind of want everyone just to shut up about Clayton Kershaw. At the same time, I do. Sorry, Alexa, reminder off. I hate.
Alexa wants to get her takes in there on the show.
Nonstop. It's pretty bad, and I don't know how to do it with the app. It's driving me crazy. Anyway,
technology. He can't figure it out, but he wants all of technology.
Eagle, turn off my reminders.
You know, it's funny because when I have conference calls with my boss and he says my name, it actually activates his Alexa behind the scenes, and he's like, "God damn it!" and he changes his room. So,
Eagle, fix Pease's Alexa right now. Produce a fixed Alexa.
So I kind of want Kershaw to win. At the same time, I'm impressed with the Rays have done. But then like the selfish Pease comes forward. I'm like, if they win, maybe delays their return to Montreal. Where like maybe like now we're on a 5-year timeline to get the Expos. Maybe that makes it 8. Not happy with that. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel, Dave. I don't know how I feel.
You know, that's a really good point. I didn't even consider that in the landscape of the Expos coming back to Montreal.
You're not a garbage person like I am.
No. Dude, I want the Expos to come back to Montreal so badly. I think that's something that would really add a lot of value to the sports culture in the city. But I guess 2020 has been such a mess so far that I think I've kind of forgotten that story even existed. Like the idea of building stadiums or bringing 25,000 Montrealers into one place together, like seems so foreign to me that I forgot that was even on the table. So yeah, you know what? Go Dodgers all the way. And the last thing I'll kind of say about this in terms of where I'm at with the Dodgers and sort of the team building structure, there is something admirable about what the Oakland A's or the Tampa Bay Rays do in regards to their team building style. The thing is, what happens is, maybe you get to the playoffs as almost a perennial team, as sort of a perennial 5 seed or a wild card team, and maybe once every 10 years you get to go to the World Series. But I guess that's the advantage of being a money team like the Dodgers. It means that you're not having to ship talent away every 2-3 years and then continuing to replenish it. It's almost like a college football team, right? Like the Auburn Tigers were a really strong team last year, sent a bunch of players to the NFL draft, and this year the Auburn Tigers are really struggling. It's happening with the LSU Tigers too. That when you're one of these small market teams, you have to kind of work on 4-year cycles or 5-year cycles. Whereas when you're a Dodgers team, it's like, we can be competitive for a decade providing we do our work.
I forgot another reason why I want the Dodgers to win. Joe Kelly. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah,
Joe Kelly is a fucking beauty, especially going after the Astros. Even though I was kind of rooting for the Astros, nobody was going for them. I kind of root for the bad guys sometimes, So, I mean, and most of the time, actually, yeah. So, I mean, I wrote a whole blog. I wanted them to come back, and they made the comeback, and then the Rays ended up winning because they are the better team. But, yeah, so Joe Kelly, to me, he's like, if he can get a ring, I'll be happy.
He'll be the craziest looking person who has a ring for sure. Dave, you had a beef with Alex, our intern, on Twitter about his take on
the intern, not just our intern. He's
the intern, Alex, the intern, on his thoughts. Oh, sorry, he was just sharing an article actually about the Montreal Canadiens. But what was your thoughts just before we let you go here?
Yeah, absolutely. I've found myself in a couple comment section wars with you guys about the Montreal Canadiens over the course of the last couple months. But specifically, it was an article about what's next for the Montreal Canadiens, which, is a fair question. And I responded with mediocrity. And Alex, the intern, did not like my answer of more mediocrity. So if you guys will allow me to make my case.
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
Let's go that way. So let's start with some broad strokes. The team was 24th overall in the league last year. That's not news to anybody. A -9 goal differential. That's the worst of any teams that made the qualifying round. Really, they were only one win away by the Buffalo Sabres from not making the playoffs at all. So even with the qualifying round win over Pittsburgh and being frisky against Philadelphia, in the aggregate, I think we can agree the team was bad last year, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely agree.
I mean, listen, they outplayed themselves, I think, against Pittsburgh, but we kind of saw that happening.
Yeah.
Or just the fact that we knew they were outplaying themselves shows that they were truly a competitive team. Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. No, let's be clear, and it would be super disingenuous of me to say that they've not gotten better in the offseason. I mean, I love the Tyler Toffoli signing. Really good player, perfect example of getting a veteran style player, veteran credentials, but still at a young age, and someone who has great possession and other analytic numbers, great term, great AAV. You know what? Like, I'm not going to start, arguing about the Tyler Toffoli deal.
It's a good signing.
Yeah, very good signing.
Yeah.
But in terms of very good moves in the offseason, that's kind of where Bergevin's unquestioned success ends. He went into the offseason with approximately $18 million in cap space and really only needed to sign Max Domi to a significant extension. In a flat cap league, that $18 million was a weapon. And he really didn't use it effectively. The other three big additions, Josh Anderson, Jake Allen, Joel Edmondson, they all have a question mark around them. And they cost picks to get access to sign them to those extensions. So now we're looking at a core of the team that is kind of in place now for at least the next 5-6 years, especially after handing out the extensions to Petrie and Gallagher. This team's now officially cap crunched going into the next offseason when they have to re-sign a player like Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Now, did he plug the 4 holes on the roster? A left defenseman, a couple of wingers, and a backup goalie? Absolutely. But did he do it in a way that made the team significantly better or just marginally better? And let's say that now they're a fringe 8-seed team. With all that money now tied up in a core of Gallagher, Anderson, Weber, Petrie, Price, Toffoli, and then Edmondson and Allen being well-paid utility players, where can any more help actually come from? Does it not seem like Marc Bergevin was trying to save his job by just making another 8-seed run instead of thinking about the long-term health of the team? And listen, I mean, obviously it's easy to say, like, they should have signed Torrey Krug, they should have signed Taylor Hall, but we know that's not how the league works. You have to make the pitch and sign these guys. But I'm talking about laying in wait with that cap space that you've got for when a player like Nate Schmidt became available, who addressed the exact need this team had, or Devin Taves became available when the Islanders found themselves in a cap crunch. Or guys, I know this is kind of like revisionist history, but even offer sheeting a player like Mikhail Sergachev, like Tampa Bay has not figured out their cap situation yet. So when I say
imagine we offer sheeted Sergachev and he signs with the Habs.
Oh my God, I would love it.
It would have been great. Yeah,
I would love it. So, like, don't get me wrong. When I say the team is going to be more mediocrity, I don't necessarily mean that as like the team is going to be bad. Mediocre in and of itself is not bad. Bad is bad. What they've been for the last 3 or 4 years is bad. But to me, the argument I'm making is like they're not going to be significantly better.
That's true.
You know what, Dave? I can't disagree with you there. I mean, I kind of like what Bergevin has done. I've also never been a Bergevin hater. I think that the city is split here, just like this, like the country is split in the states. Where Trump, if you don't like Trump, anything he does, you're gonna hate. If you don't like Bergevin, anything he does, you're gonna hate. So I think that I've always been kind of like, give him the benefit of the doubt kind of thing. And I like the signings of Toffoli. I like the trade of Anderson for Anderson. I mean, I don't think that Domi was working out here. I still think he's a very effective player. He's a good player. I just don't think it was working out. He wasn't what we needed. He wanted to play center. We're stacked at center for the first time in a long time. Well, stacked. We have 3 very good centers that we can play. I think that what you're seeing, the way you look at it as, you're looking at it as the regular season. After the regular season, we were mediocre. But if you looked at what we did in the playoffs, what the Habs did in the playoffs, is I think that you saw a light there. And with that light, with the guys that we signed, I think it filled a lot of voids. But you are 100% on the nose when it comes to those question marks. We don't know if Anderson's going to be the guy that we think he's going to be a power forward like Tom Wilson. We don't know that because he's been banged up. He has had surgery. You know what I mean? He's locked in for 7 years now. It's a little weird. Joel Edmondson, I mean, as good as a player he is, he won a Stanley Cup with St. Louis. We don't know if he's going to be able to take on this bigger role because now he's going to have a bigger role with the Habs. Jeff Petrie signing, you know, he had a great year last year. Is he going to fall into that category as we signed him and now he's going to start not playing as well? I don't think so. I think he's a very effective player, a very underrated defenseman in the NHL.
Yeah,
I mean, look at Foley, great signing.
Be 30. The thing about the Petrie thing is he's going to be 33 when that deal kicks in, right?
Yeah.
Like that deal kicks in after this season, and that concerns me, right? Like we look at all those defensemen in San Jose who are now very overpaid and looking very sluggish on the ice, and even a player like Vlasic is he's only 30, and you're already seeing decline in his game. So it makes me concerned when I see
Vlasic's over 30. I felt like he was my age when I was growing up when we were playing.
I think he might be 30 on the pin now.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I agree with you, man. I agree, but you know what? You're trying to win. You're trying to have some success now. You don't want to think about these things 7 years later. And Josh Anderson's contract is a very tradable contract, so I don't think if it's not working out, I don't think he'll end up finishing his contract with the Habs.
And same with the Gallagher contract is structured well so that they can kind of get away with it, get out from under it after, with a couple of years left.
Yeah.
We're running short on time. Dave, do you want to join us for rapid fire?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to.
Yeah,
awesome. Eagle, do it.
All right. Some of this stuff has graphics though and everything, so that's going to be a little bit tricky. But anyway, getting filled in. As the Bengals and Colts got set to play, there's a particular graphic that showed the main category where Rivers was ahead over his lifetime career. Let me go ahead and pull this up for you so you can see it. But essentially, trying to compare Phillip Rivers, who's played God knows how many particular games, into Joe Burrow, who has never played anything. So here you guys can now see it on screen, hopefully.
And but you're missing the key stat, Eags.
Which is what?
Right at the bottom. Children, 9 for Rivers, 0 for Joe Burrow. I will say, I just kept thinking of all the times Rivers was down 4 with the field to go, no timeouts in 90 seconds. And the fact that, the Chargers lost a lot of the game. It turns out Rivers has never been good at pulling one out.
That's a good point. I like it. End it there. I love Phillip Rivers. He's a great guy. And he's the best trash talker in the league, I think.
He's great.
Because he doesn't swear and he still gets it done.
Yeah.
All right, next one, Self-Awareness 100. So there's a Twitter account called NHL Nosebleed, and they posted a question saying, name a NHL player you were convinced would turn out to be a superstar but never panned out. To which Andrew Raycroft replied with Andrew Raycroft.
Andrew Raycroft is an absolute beauty, man. He's the classic. He knows his where he is on this planet. He knows exactly where he fits in, and I think that tweet is ultimate for him.
Yeah, it's honestly, I was excited seeing Andrew Raycroft early in his career, and he just was a guy who was fine for a long time, and like that's okay. He had a good career, but I will say the self-awareness on this post, excellent.
Yeah, top end, top notch. Great job by Andrew Raycroft.
Caught with his fly down. Troy Aikman and Joe Buck were caught on a hot mic criticizing the flyover of military jets ahead of the NFL game they were broadcasting. They've since backtracked their comments. First off, because all of you work in media, I would never do that to you. I tell you when your mics are hot. So screw you, Fox broadcast team. Definitely threw them under the bus on that one. But yes, your thoughts.
What they said wasn't really that bad. All they said is this is pointless spending. That's all they said, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
By the way, wouldn't we all agree?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's one person that doesn't agree to this, unless you're really from the sticks of Alabama and you really want
who doesn't agree? You know who doesn't agree, Terry? All of Twitter that were hammering Troy Aikman for not being patriotic. First of all, being patriotic doesn't mean not questioning your country. In fact, the entire country was born on that principle. Now, aside from that, he was criticizing it specifically during the time of a pandemic where so many people are out of work. The NFL and the military are spending this kind of money on basically advertising where no other sport flies jets over. And it's the same league. It's the same league where people are very happy to say to the players, we don't want you leading our morality, but they're okay with the NFL dictating their morality in this way.
It's totally bizarre to me, guys, with the flyovers. I don't know if you guys remember in the NHL playoffs, they were doing flyovers over a closed arena in Edmonton. I was like, what kind of a waste of money is this?
I wonder how much it actually costs.
And you know the other thing I couldn't figure out during the NHL bubble is when non-Canadian teams were playing, they were still playing the Canadian national anthem. I'm like, what are we doing here, guys?
Well,
like,
they're in Canada, I guess.
come on. Like, there's no need. There's no need.
Next one we have Lomachenko, not reborn. Terry, there's no details here, but I believe this is relating to the fact that he injured himself before his big fight. Is that basically the story?
Well, that's what they're saying now. They're saying that he fought injured. He looked a little chubby to me. I watched live. I only watched the last 3 rounds, but then I went back and I watched the fight, and he didn't look great. And Lomachenko getting dethroned now, and a lot of people are hating on him, being like, oh, you see, he's not one of the best pound for pound. Listen. Reality is Lomachenko is going to get his rematch with this kid Lopez, and this kid Lopez is supposedly, and he looks like he's going to be the next big thing in boxing, especially at that weight class where you don't really have a big superstars. Now Lomachenko, I mean, this guy has made his name for himself being a world champion and killing everybody with only 12 professional fights and having 200 amateur fights, undefeated in amateur. So, I mean, he'll be back, but like there's this whole thing, like, is he one of the best pound for pound? We don't think so. I still think he is. If he loses against Lopez, then we can have that conversation. But fucking Twitter hating on him is ridiculous.
First of all, if being chunky is an indicator of being injured, then I've been injured since I was 23 years old.
Oh, I'm still injured, yeah.
Secondly,
23. Holy fuck. 13 at least.
If he, gained a bit of weight, wouldn't it be more impressive? Because isn't he more pound for pound at that point? Because he's packing him in. Yeah, I'll agree. I watched it. You know that I'm not as refined fight fan as you are. I noticed that he didn't look to be particularly in shape. He looked worn out. I think he's going to come back strong because, hey, it's a wake-up call, right? Especially, I'm sure he doesn't like being called, a bust or this and that, whatever, all the things you're reading on Twitter. So I'm sure he's going to come back strong.
He's also a beautiful man.
He is very good looking. I will say, to Terry's credit, when you mentioned those 200 amateur fights, that kind of looked like the style of fight he was bringing to Lopez on Saturday. It looked like he really was trying to point fight, and Lopez was using a lot of speed and a lot of power, and it was clear that Lomachenko could not get off anything that really scared Lopez, and Lopez just stayed in that phone booth all fight and just kept peppering him with heavy shots.
I listened to Roy Jones Jr. on Joe Rogan's podcast today, and that was from a few weeks ago. And he was talking about how he thinks Lopez is going to win and how he's going to win, and he went exactly the same way. And it's impressive. I think that he's going to be a big name. I didn't really know him that well. I'd heard his name, but couldn't tell you what he looks like, what his record was, or whatever. But yeah, so I think he's going to be a big guy, a big star.
Cold Gaze. Reason number, I stopped counting at this point as to why Adam Gase is still employed. He has not had a top 20 ranked quarterback since Peyton Manning was his quarterback back in Denver. So clearly, Pease, you've seen him in with the Dolphins. Actually, Dave, you too. I can see the merchandise behind you. Give me a reason why Gase should be an NFL coach.
Kidnapping. He's kidnapped someone's daughter and forced them to keep him hired. That's the only reason. Like Woody Johnson, it probably needs to undergo like some sort of Taken thing where he needs to find Adam Gase and kick his ass because there's no other reason why he's a head coach. I'm never a guy to call for someone's job. It is clear to me Adam Gase is incompetent. I don't understand why anyone ever called him an offensive genius. He had Peyton Manning in his worst offensive season, who still did okay. And then after that, year after year, it's just been how many 3-yard outs and drag routes and slant routes can you call? It's just it's boring. It's ineffective. It's getting worse year after year.
He can't get out of his own way. I think that he's the reason. He just literally thinks that he's reinventing something right now. And he's like, oh, give it time, it'll work, but it's not going to work.
If you want to rebuild your team, you hire Adam Gase because for 2 or 3 years, he's going to burn it to the ground, and then you're in perfect position to get the first overall pick.
Oh, there you go.
Hey Dave, that's how we got Tua. That's how we got Tua.
Actually genius.
Yeah. It's like, let's rebuild. Okay, what do we got to do? We got to burn everything. All right, Gase, bring him in. Bill O'Brien, bring him in.
Yeah, but O'Brien's going to trade away your draft pick while burning it to the ground. So that's the issue with Bill O'Brien.
It's okay because Gase will just cut your players. So
yeah, exactly.
O'Brien, you get something back. It's a step up. It's a step up from Gase.
Last one, and I think Pease, you may have a last one after this. Fish and chips,
or
like Dick and Jizz. Manchester United defender Aaron Wan Bicase gets caught in a love square and loves to slurp the finished product. Someone has to fill me in on what that means.
All right, so this is why I made it very vague so I can explain the story. So we have a massive love square. It's not necessarily a love triangle. So the defender for Man United, Bisaka, he is dating a woman. He then slept with another woman. That other woman went on Snapchat or Instagram Live, whatever it was, and called out the fact that he's been cheating on his girlfriend with her. And she also called out the fact that he has a kid on the way with another woman. But she also called out the fact that he likes to slurp the sperm out of the girl's vagina.
Ooh.
After he's done.
Listen, man, Terry, we're a sex positive show, man. If that's the thing that gets him going, that gets you going, man.
Like, how salty do you want it?
My thing is, maybe he thought this was an effective way for to prevent having a child. It didn't work out because he is going to be having one. That said, listen, when your public business gets out on Instagram, you need to know that this is going to be how it is. Otherwise, you just got to follow the Phil Rivers playbook. If you know you can't pull out, just stick with one. Give her 9 kids, and that's what you got.
Dave, I'll respect you if you want to do no comment on this one.
No. All I'll say is there are 17 essential amino acids in semen.
There you go. As an athlete, testosterone, maybe that's why he's so good. He just slurps his own jizz all the time.
He never gives his testosterone up. He always gets it back.
Yeah. And also, the 2 girls that he was dating ended up were ex-girlfriends of a former teammate. So there's another twist.
They got a little Sean Avery, Dion Phaneuf going on there, eh?
Yeah. Sloppy seconds.
All right.
And then there was something KFC related piece. I don't have it here, but I know you wanted to mention it.
I don't remember.
No. So KFC is the story is Kevin Clancy from Barstool. He's the story that I shared on the group chat, but there's no.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was like the chicken, so I was like, all right, this is weird.
No. All right. Well, Dave, thank you for joining us. You've been great. Terry, you've been yourself.
I've been
Eagle,
trying.
you've been our producer. I've been Peas.
You've been listening to Hot Sauce Sports.
You have to trust that the sound plays. Yes, you can't hear it.
You've been listening to Hot Sauce
Sports. Every week you do this to me. I tell you it plays. I tell you don't comment on the fact it doesn't play, and you do it anyways.
Absolutely.
I'm making a GIF with that dance.
Now we all stare at each other.
Yeah, it's over. Eagle's gonna get mad at us because he knows that we're talking while the music's playing.